Ah, yes, Divinity's Reach. Hello, citizens. This city sure knows how to party. Why, hello there to you. I've been waiting a long time for this. Yes, nice threads. Oh, is that one of those 10-ton hammers? Yes, excuse me. Yes, of course. Is this what? Oh, no, no, over there. Yes, thank you. Well, good day, ma'am. Yes. I just was wondering how much for the Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns expansion. E- Excuse me? $50? Good lord! Well, that's a lot of money. I don't know. I how I tell you what. How about I give you $5 and you let me stay in the core game by myself?
What's up, guys? Dark Horse here with another video. It's probably going to be hard for you to guess what this video is going to be about. I'll give you a hint. Hotgate, HoTPocalypse, 2015. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last week, um, you probably are well aware that a couple of things of note happened this week. Unfortunately, I'm not talking about the release of information about guild halls um, that happened at E3. I'm talking about Hotgate, HoTPocalypse. I'm talking about Reddit and the official forums exploding over something that I don't think some people saw coming, but I think I did a little bit. The pre-release for Heart of Thorns being announced led to a veritable firestorm about the price, among other things. But there was a major issue with the price, and I heard certain people in the community who have made their statement back to this, and their statement was, it's not about the fact that they threw in the core game. It's about the $50. Is the $50 worth it to you or not? So the issues with the $50. I would say, personally for me, it's not so much about the $50, it's about the $10. I think that's the question. The question is not about, is the expansion worth it to the people who are upset for $50. I think in many cases it's about $10. What's the $10? The $10 is the sale price that Guild Wars 2 has had several times over the past few months. It appears from the outside looking in to some people that ArenaNet sold a product knowing that they would soon devalue it. In other words, I'm going to sell you this product for $10, but this product's going to essentially be worth $0 in the near future. And I've heard the arguments that, well, if people bought it and they're getting to play it, certainly they've gotten their $10 out of it. I can see that as a valid argument. However, I'm not sure that it necessarily holds as much water as some people would like it to. Sure, it's one way of looking at it, but I know personally of two people who purchased the game for $10 because they thought they were going to need it and wanted to start playing at the expansion and have not gotten to play. They're just out $10. They could have just waited and bought the expansion. And I suppose that's that's the dice they rolled. But looking at that argument a little bit more, I don't think it's true that ArenaNet was trying to money grab here. I don't think that they said, oh, you know what, here's what we're going to do. guys, we're gonna sell the game on sale for $10. And then in a few months, we're going to announce, hey, it's available for pre-release. Guess what? We just sold you a product that's worth crap. I don't think that that's at all what ArenaNet was going for here. I think historically, ArenaNet's been pretty forthright with their pricing. They've just said, here's how much it is, and pretty much stayed with it. They haven't jockeyed it around too much until the game's aged, and then the price comes down. That's what's happened here. As the game's aged, it's devalued somewhat, especially when Heart of Thorns as a nature is a little bit different, I think, than a traditional expansion might be. But a little bit more on that later. I don't know that box sales here are even the issue. I'm still pretty convinced that ArenaNet makes a good bit on the gem store, but they have to freshen up the game. They have to keep showing the community that they want to do things. I think that this is more about trying to get hype and to drive the community in a positive direction. So what's the issue here? I think many people are simply unsatisfied with what they've seen. Folks just aren't convinced that Heart of Thorns is going to have enough in it to warrant a $50 price tag, and that's possibly true. That's all personal opinion. It might not be worth the $50 price tag. Would it be worth $40? Would it be worth $35? $25? What's the cutoff that would make it worth it for you to pay? I think at the end of the day, someone selling a product has to evaluate the product and say, hey, this is how much we think the product is worth, and sell it for what they think it's worth. That's ArenaNet's job, and ArenaNet is saying that the product is worth $50. Unfortunately, there have been some hang-ups with their message delivery. But isn't this sort of the nature of pre-orders? I mean, the whole idea of pre-orders is that they're to get the community drummed up into buying off of emotion. People who have looked forward to something now have the opportunity to actually say, hey, I want to get this. Famously, while Mike O'Brien and Colin Johansson were presenting the initial Heart of Thorns presentation, and someone screamed out, take my money. That's kind of the fun of this type of a thing. It's not bad. It drives both new people and news flow to the game, news flow drives more people to the game, and more people to an MMO is a good thing. But pre-orders are generally directed at people who've already made the decision in their mind to buy the game in the first place. I mean, that's the nature of pre-orders. People are dedicated to the game. They can't wait to throw their money at the screen. Pre-order comes along. They throw their money at the screen. That's what pre-orders are for. Personally, I'm not usually one to pre-order a game. I don't even really like pre-orders, but hey, I've bought this one, so you know where my money lies. But I'm also not going to sit here and sugarcoat the fact that pre-orders themselves have problems. And when you compound it with PR issues, that's where we get to where we're at today. And make no mistake about it, ArenaNet has a huge PR problem right now. They can't ignore the issue because there is legitimate outrage among some of the fan base. For all the crying and anger, there is actually some legitimate anger built in. Veteran players, many of them feel disenfranchised. That's not just a vocal minority, that's a lot of people. There are many, many people who feel disenfranchised by this move. Personally, I'm not one of them, but I'm not going to sit here and ignore the fact that people feel disenfranchised by it. It's legitimate. And just because there's outrage does not mean that Anet is required in any way to cave in to that pressure. Listen, ArenaNet's come under fire before for their communication and their listening to the community when it comes to Guild Wars 2. But at the end of the day, I think there was a mistake made. They sent the message that they didn't intend to send. And guys, no game company can hit the nail on the head every time. There are some things, though, that are more important than others to get right. So, personally, I think the expansion is worth $50. And honestly, this expansion is going to put Guild Wars 2, a game I love, much closer to where I wanted it to be at launch. They're trying to do something different, so I'm pretty much willing to, I guess, work with them. on getting there because I see the potential. At the end of the day, I think they made a huge mistake throwing in the core game. Honestly, in my opinion, which probably doesn't mean anything, their best course would just be to say, hey, we think Heart of Thorns is worth $50. We really believe that. That's the price. And to go with that, now the core game is going to be discounted permanently to $10, which is what we've been selling it for. If you bought a copy of the original in the last few months for more than $10, we'll refund the overage. I feel like that's the most fair. I'm not going to go into the character slots and the other issues raised. Those are all legit topics. But other people have covered those, and that's sort of outside the scope of what I'm wanting to do with this video. But here we are. We're on the cusp of one of the largest updates ever to the core game. And instead of a countdown clock to Tuesday, we're looking at a Reddit and an official forums filled with more questions than answers about something that honestly should be noteworthy in its own right, which would be a step towards the release of a game that we've waited for a long time. Don't try to downplay it. Don't call people names and call them all entitled. There is real outrage, some of it justifiable. What ArenaNet does here in the next few months is going to be critical. Let me say this in closing. Personal harassment of ArenaNet staff, hitting them up on vacation, assassinating the character of people on an individual basis is disgusting. And people who are engaging in that are disgusting. Your voice can't be heard because nobody can get past the stench of your delivery. State your case as it's got merit, on its merit, but be kind to people. Let ArenaNet know that you're angry. But understand that sometimes a company is greater than the sum of its parts, especially the ones that you see, and quite often the ones behind decisions like this aren't even the ones who are out in the forums talking or sitting in front of a camera. In the end, you got to get mad if you need to, but take care of people. This is Dark Horse, and thanks for watching. Till next time.